everybody, it's Hannah Fletcher, and welcome back to News by Muse. I am speaking with Paul Telner, the head of programming at Viral Nation. I am so excited if it's not just abundantly obvious. Oh my goodness. Paul, let's kick it off. I want to hear where you're, first of all, tell us a little bit about being the head of programming at Viral Nation and what that entails for those who may not know.
Sure. Well, first off, thank you for having me on your show. I'm a huge fan of what you do, so it's really an honor to be here. It's really exciting. And, as head of programming at Viral Nation, it means a few things. It means, one, identifying incredible talent in our roster and really figuring out, is there a show there? And when I say a show, I don't necessarily mean a traditional TV show. It could be a streaming show. It could be a short form show. It could be a movie. It could be anything where people watch something that's either online or in some other medium. So it's really identifying talent that I think can do something premium and go beyond what they're already doing. So that's like the first sort of identification of like, is that talent someone we can develop into something even larger than what they're already doing? And then number two, it's the actual development of figuring out what is your show. If you're a fashion influencer, creator, if you're a beauty creator, if you're in the prank world, is there something we can create and develop that goes beyond what you're already doing, essentially for free to the world, where we can go to a streamer or to a network and say, hey, we want to tell their story in an even more elevated way. Here's why we should do this project together. And here's the show.
I love that so much. So I'm curious to know, when and where did the idea, and I mean, I'm a huge reality fan, like don't even get me started. I work with another company. I do all reality TV reporting for the most part. So like
Amazing.
Bravo's my thing. Like talk to me about the reality TV journey and where the idea of incorporating social media starts. Where did that kind of birth from? Because I think it's genius. And I think that that's kind of the new way of reality TV. So I'm curious to hear you and how you hatched that.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. Creators have really taken what we've seen in reality television to the next level. Like, you watch, a classic episode of a reality show, you see who they are, you know what they're up to, but you got to wait to the next episode, or traditionally, dating myself, to the next week when people would have to wait. Now, you watch a creator, you are watching daily vlogs on YouTube. You're watching second by second, minute by minute on Instagram and Snap and TikTok. Like, you are following their life. Online is the greatest reality show we've ever seen, because there is not a second you don't know what your favorite creator is up to, whether that is a tweet, whether that is, on Snapchat. So, the idea of developing a reality show with creators is a really natural one, because their whole life is already online. So how do we elevate that? How do we take what they're already doing and say, what if we had a budget? What if we had a budget for them to travel the world? I mean, you look at someone like David Dobrik. He did an amazing show on Discovery Plus. And, you can argue, well, we already know a lot about David, but he took it where he really sort of travels the world. And, he wouldn't necessarily be doing that on his YouTube. So that's an example of someone, a very successful creator, taking what he does and extending it to the premium world. So for me, every creator is doing a reality show already. How do we elevate that? How do we make it premium? And how do we tell their story in a way where, if they had a budget, we could tell that story and elevate what they do. And that doesn't stop what they do on a daily basis on social media. They just sort of play off each other. So, I've been doing it for a long time in terms of developing shows with creators specifically and trying to tell their story. And you asked a really smart question. Like, it comes down to, what is their story? How do they elevate their story? How do they bring it to the next level? Because almost every creator I've ever met has an idea for a show, and I say TV show, but for a series in their mind, but they just haven't been able to actually get it off the ground because budgetary, time-wise, they want a camera crew. I always hear from creators, they can't believe if you get a TV show on a streamer, you're going to have a crew with you that show up to actually film you. That's like the biggest thing they like to talk about, because they're so used to doing it, things themselves.
That's incredible. Now, what I love about that, and what I love about what you said about David, is obviously, like you said, everybody has an idea, right? But it's like you said, the challenge really lies within the budget, the fact that you need a whole crew, the fact that it's scheduling. There's a lot more than just having the concept and having the idea, but obviously that's a place to start. Where do you think that this is going to eventually kind of take the creators and the audience fan base? Like, how do you think that that is going to connect them further? Because like you said, there is a kind of a challenge already pre-existing, kind of almost like, let's put these creators in a situation that they don't maybe already document, but how do you think that that's going to maybe like strengthen the connection that happens with their audience and with their viewers?
Totally. So the way I see the half hour, 1 hour television show is merely an extension of what these creators already do. Like their day to day is creating, producing, making content for their various social media audiences. The TV show, so to speak, is just a brand extension. It's just a way of saying, okay, they've killed it on YouTube, they've killed it on TikTok. Now they've got a book deal over here. Well, that book will be in bookstores across America or the world, on Amazon, etc. They've got a TV show living over on this streamer over here. They've got a merch line available here. So it's creating almost that orbit of products and shows that you can sort of look at and think, wow, there's so many things they do. You know, we have so many amazing creators at the end, and we're helping co-develop and co-build their brands. You know, I've worked with a lot of creators in the past, and the TV part of it is just another really strong extension of what their brand is. So, you know, yes, you can watch them all day on YouTube, but if you're driving down Sunset Boulevard and you see an ad for some new show on a huge streamer, like, it's more awareness. It's actually more mainstream awareness, because as popular as these creators are, you can walk down the street and say their name and some people will know and some people won't know. But once you get on one of those streamers or traditional TV networks, you actually open yourself up to a whole new audience who may not be watching YouTube or Snapchat or TikTok every single second like we are. So it's a brand builder. It's a brand extension. You know, you hope the audience goes to watch the show. You hope the people that watch traditional go to actually check out the social media. But at the end of the day, it is a way of telling a premium story. It's brand extension, and it's awareness of an amazing creator to, I think, the whole world. And I still think traditional has a lot of power. I still think there is something to be said for having a billboard in Times Square or on Sunset showing your new series. And again, it's part of a greater brand extension where I say to creators, where do you want to be 5 years from now? Like, how do you hold up the legacy? So imagine if you created an amazing animated series, and imagine if it becomes a hit. Well, that will be part of your story forever. That's not just a one video. That's a series that will live on in some way, shape, or form forever. So I think it's about legacy.
Definitely. And I think I love this stuff so much. I love hearing you talk about it. My mind is like a hamster on a wheel when it comes to this, because I think it's so fascinating, and also like streamline revenue and like capitalizing on a pre-existing platform. Like, I'm such a nerd when it comes to all of this stuff. It's so exciting. So talk to me a little bit about, I know you have a couple of projects and partnerships that are already in the works. Without spoiling anything,
Sure.
What is it that you can tease and promote for what it is that's upcoming with the talent that you're working with currently?
100%. So we have a full amazing slate of unscripted projects right now. And, you know, we've announced a few of them. We've got a great partnership with Trip Taylor, who's one of the executive producers of Jackass, and one of my best friends. And I know you've connected with him. He's amazing. He's one of the most creative guys in Hollywood. He's actually one of the nicest guys. He's amazing. And we have a very strong partnership with him where we're developing shows together, everything from prank shows to you know, reality shows about celebrities and creators. So we're doing a lot with Trip. I mean, what he's done is Trip has really helped build traditional entertainment. If you think about it, all the Jackass movies and the Jackass, and now we're working with creators who kind of fit Trip's brand, and we're all collaborating to develop shows. So we've got a really great prank show in the works right now that I can't say too much about, but we're really, really stoked about it. We've got a show that we are developing right now. I say we're in the lab with it, with a great dance crew called Basement Gang, who are one of the most popular dance troops online. They are killing it on every social media platform. What's amazing about these guys is they're from Toronto. But that's not the amazing part. The amazing part. Imagine if that was the amazing part. It's not but
they're Canadian.
They're Canadian. They are Canadian. Yeah, they came alive during the pandemic, and they are these amazing guys who are best buddies, and they do these. You know, they're incredible dancers, but it's the chemistry, it's the camaraderie between them, and I think that's why the world now knows them, and they've just risen to the top. So we're working with a phenomenal partner named Buck Productions, who are actually also based out of Toronto. On a really great project, Unscripted, with them. We've also got something with Bone Collector, who's, you know, a street ball legend, you know, one of the pioneers of street ball basketball in America. And we are developing a very special project with Buck Productions and Bone Collector about his story, and also about how he really pioneered street ball in America. So, two very different projects. One is sort of a dancing project. The other one is about street ball in America and Bone Collector's story. But what is sort of the consistent thing that connects all this is great creators who have huge talent and have a story to tell. Great production companies like Buck and Trip Taylor's company, Sunny Sky Productions, not based in Toronto, but still a great company. And really putting those pieces together, and really strong development. And those are that's the recipe to try and get success in Unscripted, is great talent, great producing partners, and really good sort of formats that we develop together. So it's very sort of everyone's working together. We're creating these ideas together with the creators themselves. And it's just a really fun process. So yeah, that's a bit of a tease. I've also got some other projects that we are in the very early stages of, which hopefully you'll hear about very soon. But, for me, the partnerships are everything. I've developed this sort of, Rolodex is an old term, but relationships of amazing producers that I've, been forming since I was 15 years old. And these are relationships that are really important to me, people I trust, people I love working with, and, who treat talent properly, who really respect and love talent and treat them properly. And, to me, talent is a creator or talent is a celebrity. It's all kind of blended into one, in my opinion. So yeah, we're really excited about our slate.
I couldn't agree more with what you said about obviously how you have to treat talent, and the fact that you want to treat them with respect and like a human. I think that is so important, and it's so evident with how long I've been with Viral Nation now and with all of you guys. Like I can tell how much love and support that you have for each individual person on that roster.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, and I love asking this question. Any interview that I do, I pretty much ask it because it is so fascinating to me. Now, I know that you've mentioned that you are developing so many different projects. First of all, God bless you. I don't know how you sleep. I don't know how you manage your time. I love it.
So I have two small kids, and you just stop sleeping. You basically never sleeping. So when you take like an hour to sleep, you're like, what am I doing? I should be like. So no, it's what keeps me running is the creative engine at Viral Nation. Like, it's an amazing place, and we just have a lot of energy to make really great projects come to life. But please.
Yeah, of course. Well, what does the timeline look like for something like this? Like having the idea, right? Whether you come to talent or maybe talent comes to you or whatever, and then carrying it on to finally getting it on that streaming screen. What would I know each project is different, but if you had to give like an average, is it a year, 2 years? Like, what would you say is like an average rough timeline for developing from start to finish a project such as these?
It's a great question. And, as you said, like every project is sort of its own thing with its own orbit and its own sort of life and pulse and how it works. But I think I was going to give you a ballpark. It's probably from ideation, working with the creators, doing deals, coming up with the concept, making the materials. And when I say materials, there's usually, a very sort of beautiful deck that's put together that shows what the show is in pictures and in words, and then a compelling sizzle. And a lot of people know what a sizzle is now, but just to say, a sizzle really is like a movie trailer of like, here's what the show could look like if you bought it. And sometimes you shoot that footage fresh, sometimes you do zooms and you record them, sometimes you sort of paint the picture in any way you can. But I'd probably say 12 months or longer to get it sort of up and running. But the amazing thing about this business, and I don't think this is said enough, is that even if you pitch the show on your first sort of, pitch, even if everyone says no, these projects have a way of coming back. I've sold shows, and 3 years later, after everyone has said no, I get a text or a call, and they're like, oh, that show has come back. I'm like, but I haven't even done and so there's always no creative idea is thrown to waste. Like, all creative ideas get used eventually, whether it's a concept or whether it's a format. So shows come back. So I always see people get very discouraged when they pitch a show and everyone passes, but it comes back. You just have to be really patient, and it's all about timing. It's about the right buyer with the mandate that fits your show and your creator, and the right relationships. So they have a way of coming back, but it's a process, and you have to really sort of go through the process and believe in your show. That's the thing I will say to you. And I know it sounds cliche, but the one thing I really can say in this interview is that belief in your project and belief in your creator and belief in what you're doing and the partnerships is everything. And we work with people who are in it for the long haul. that if we pitch in an afternoon in LA and everybody says no, well, we're back at it the next week figuring out our strategy to sell that show. We're not going to give up. And that's been my strategy since day one, is believe in the creator, believe in their vision, believe in what they do, and believe in the project, and never give up on it, because it will happen if you push enough and you come up with the right sort of recipe. And it also means being flexible. Like, if the show is like this and the market's saying no, we'll flip it a little bit, see what works, but it's all about belief and persistence. That's been really like the recipe to my career, has been persistence.
I love that answer so much. You're so well spoken, Paul.
I try. And honestly, like, I'm not the most, like, I like to be creative, but there's always more creative people in the room. And I think it's about who's willing to keep pushing, who's willing to keep believing and not just moving on to something else because it didn't take on the first try. And I think that's entertainment, as you know, persistence is like half the battle.
Yes, yes, it is.
Right?
Well,
yeah.
I love what you said earlier, even about the fact that you were making connections at 15 years old. And those are the connections that transpire years down the road. And those are the people that you're working with. And that is something that I have to say that I love about this business and this industry. You meet a ton of people, but when you find that one person that you can latch onto and you're like, okay, let's keep in touch. And even if you don't keep in touch, but maybe once a year, whether it's a LinkedIn DM or a coffee, it's still so nice to be able to collect the connections and 100%. Take them down the road with you like that.
100%. When I was a teenager living in my parents' house, I'm still a dork, but I was really a dork. I was supercharged dork back then. Now I'm dork light, but then I'm supercharged dork light. Full caffeine, full, the original, the OG. But I would collect business cards with my best friends, and we started an entertainment company, and we'd get these business cards from producers, and we were so proud of the cards. So I would put them up on a wall in my parents' house, and I would look at them every morning, and I would sort of figure out who I contact. This is back in the day, but I think those relationships are everything. I think they really are. I actually think those relationships are more important than ideas, because everyone has an idea. There's a lot of ideas out there, and the relationships are very special. And keeping those relationships up is a thing that a lot of people may not do or may not know the importance of how to do that, and just how crucial that is. So like you said, keeping in touch, sending an email, seeing how they're doing, seeing what's going on, because eventually you will work together. And also having a mentor is like so important.
Very important. Now, I want to ask you, and this will be my final question for you for today, but I'm so curious. And again, with somebody who's had your experience and the connections, and obviously you and Trip are buddies, and I think that he's fantastic, and the work that you guys are able to put together is going to be phenomenal, and I cannot wait. I want to know, what would be your piece of advice to maybe a creator who has an idea, but maybe doesn't know how to formulate a pitch, or really just solely believes in themselves, but they don't exactly know where to turn or where to start, to be able to get somebody to really hear them and listen to them, and to be able to help potentially turn their dream, quite literally, potentially, into a reality?
Yeah, it's a great question. So come to Viral Nation.
Yeah.
Well, but it's a really good question, because here's the thing. It's like, I always said this, companies I've worked for, I remember, having a business card, and I had a title, and I'd be sitting in the room, and everyone's trying to think of the next brilliant idea to sell to a streamer, like for a reality show or a scripted show. Mm-hmm. And I remember I would speak to the interns every couple months. I would be one of the guest speakers to speak to the new this is at past companies, the new interns coming in. And they would ask me after, they'd say, we have an idea for a show. Can we talk to you about it? And I always thought, like, of course you can talk. Like, some of the ideas I heard from the interns were actually better than the executives who had the fancy titles and wore the fancy suits and sort of sat behind the big desk. And I swear to you, I heard ideas from interns that were genius. And we later developed them with the intern, and we worked on them, and we tried to make them happen. So I would say, don't worry about being fancy and making this fancy sizzle reel and fancy deck and all of that. I go, if you can write it down, or you can email it to me, we'll talk about it, and let us figure out with you the format and how to sell it. But if you have a great idea, like, don't be intimidated by the entertainment business, and don't be intimidated by the process, because a good idea is a good idea, and we can help you pair that with talent. We can help you develop that idea, because there is a lot of sort of structure to it and a lot of sort of process. But let us worry about the process. If you're a creator and you have an amazing idea, speak to us, or speak to somebody that is approachable and will actually help you with it, because a good idea is a good idea, and a great creator is a great creator, and those together is a very powerful combination. And I will say, I started my career as an intern at Fox Studios, And I remember being petrified walking through those front gates of Fox on Pico. And I saw, you see all the movie posters on the side of the walls. And I couldn't believe where I was. And
Yeah.
I was very nervous for the first month. And then somebody said to me, "Oh, you seem creative. Do you have ideas?" And that was my moment. And I could have either said, "No, I don't," just to not feel the stress and pressure of having to tell someone who has way more experience than I do. But I remember in that moment, I just started pitching executives ideas at intern meetings. Executives would come in and talk to us. I would just start pitching them ideas. And that's how I built my relationships. I took the chance when I could. I pitched them ideas. I literally remember back then having DVDs of my comedy, putting it under executives' desks when they were in meetings, and they would literally look at me in the middle of the meeting. I was like, check it out later. And I remember getting like emails being like, "This is really funny. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your idea." So I think you have to be really bold and really brave, and you have to believe in yourself. And I know it sounds like a self-help thing, but if you don't believe in your idea, like no one else is going to. Like you have to come with such belief and confidence in your idea. And that is half the battle, in my opinion. So believe in yourself, make the relationships, make the contacts, and deal with good people. Deal with people who actually want to hear your ideas. And even if it's a no is okay. A no is really okay. A no is like, come back to us. Like I never really say no. I say, that might not be right for us, but if you twist it this way, that could be something. So yeah, that's my whole thing, is find people who believe in you as a person and your ambitions and dreams. And it's not going to be everybody. That's what I want to say. It's not going to be every single person you talk to, because people are busy. But find that company, find that person who believes in you, and just start pitching, and don't be afraid of the process.
Thank you for saying all that. Also, I feel like a no is not a no in this business. I feel like if anything, it's maybe a not right now. That's kind of what I've run into.
Yeah,
I feel like anytime I've heard no, I've actually had people, even with acting, my degree is in acting, I've had a lot of people, maybe I don't hear from them in regards to a self-tape, but 2-3 months later, I'll hear down the road and they're like, "Hey, we really enjoyed you. We have this project that we feel like you're even a better fit for." And I'm like, "I'm coming. I'll be there." Okay.
100%. I mean, I will literally tell one last story before we go, is
Sure.
when I was much younger, when I would put the business cards, like I remember my best friends and I, we drove to the Just for Laughs Montreal Comedy Festival, which is the biggest comedy festival in the world. Every major A-list comic is there. Every major agent and manager. This is like in my 20s. This is a long time ago. And well, it's not that long. It's long. And I remember my friends and I were trying to show our show to a very powerful comedy manager. I won't say his name. He's an amazing guy, very powerful guy. And we literally set up, we knew what time his flight was landing in Montreal from Los Angeles. We knew he was staying at the same hotel as us. So we asked the front desk, we're like, "What time is this guest arriving?" They're like, "Oh, he should be in about 8:30. So we set up a desk for this legendary comedy manager, in the lobby of the hotel. We waited for him to walk in. We had a screen ready to show our show concept. He walks into the lobby. He's got all his bags. He's exhausted. He's in track pants. He just got off a flight. He looks at me. He's like, "What are you doing? Our meeting's not till like Wednesday." I'm like, "We wanted to be ready for you. We've got coffee. We've got bagels. We've got my pitch." And he sat down with us, literally just got to the hotel after a flight from Los Angeles to Montreal, and watched our comedy and was laughing. He said, "The fact that you all went to this extent to show me your stuff, like we literally had an office set up in the lobby for him to watch it." And he just started laughing, and he's like, let's talk. I'm really interested." He's like, "But don't bug me for the rest of the festival. You've done your thing. I'm really interested. Let's talk next week." And we later worked with him. So I just think like you have to be out of the box and you have to be different.
I cannot. You need a show about you. You know that, right? I hope that comes around and goes in the world.
It's just one of those. You have to stand out. You have to.
Definitely. Well, I want to say thank you so much. I want to give you the floor if there's anything else that you would like to plug or promote that is upcoming, or anything that you're extremely excited about. You have the floor. So
thank
go
you.
ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate it. No, it's just, at Viral Nation, we're really excited about everything we're doing. I am on the original content side, working very closely with our president, Jonathan Shanti, and the greater team. And we're just excited, and we're here to hear great ideas. We're here to develop your ideas. We're here to work with amazing creators and develop their ideas. And, I would say, like, don't be afraid to pitch me. Like, let's develop a project together. Let's see what we can do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it so much. And thank you all so much for watching. And we will see you guys in the next episode of Muse by Muse.
Thanks, Hannah. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Bye.